There's something quietly powerful about turning 33. It doesn't scream like a crisis, and it doesn't arrive with fireworks. It enters like a presence, subtle but undeniable. You begin to sense that life as you knew it no longer fits. It's not about age in the calendar, it's about frequency. At 33, you cross into an invisible threshold where your inner vibration begins to separate from your past identity. According to the energetic principles taught by Bob Proctor, every thought you hold sends a frequency into the universe, and the longer it's held, the deeper it programs your subconscious. By 33, you've built a solid vibrational foundation, often unconsciously. But this is also the moment when your soul starts to ask, is this truly who I am or who I was trained to be? This questioning isn't loud. It feels more like a slow unraveling. You may feel more sensitive to things you once ignored. You notice time differently. The people, places, and habits you once tolerated begin to lose their gravity. It's not because life is falling apart. It's because the energetic blueprint of your being is updating. The version of you that was shaped by survival and external approval begins to lose charge, and a deeper, more aligned version is starting to activate. This is the vibrational threshold, a liminal space between who you were and who you're becoming. It can feel disorienting because the frequencies that once stabilized your life are dissolving, not to harm you, but to make space. And in that space, you're being asked to feel again, to think consciously, to choose deliberately. Not out of fear, but out of alignment. 33 is not just a number. It's a frequency checkpoint, a sacred moment where the universe begins to challenge your broadcast. Are you living by design or by default? Are you vibrating what you truly are or just echoing the past? The turning point begins here, not with change on the outside, but with a shift so deep inside you can no longer unfeel it. At 33, a silent collapse begins. But it doesn't look dramatic from the outside. It happens in the quiet moments, when your usual routines start to feel empty, when the mask you've worn for years begins to feel heavy, and when the roles you've played stop bringing the validation they once did. It's not a breakdown, it's a deconstruction. The version of you that was built on expectations, comparisons, and unconscious agreements is beginning to dissolve. This isn't punishment. It's preparation. According to the law of vibration, you can't attract a reality that contradicts your dominant frequency. And your identity, whether real or manufactured, is that frequency. Bob Proctor always emphasized that transformation starts with self-image. When that image cracks, it's not the end. It's the opening. You might feel lost in this phase. The dreams you chased may no longer inspire you. The goals you fought for may feel disconnected from who you are now. Relationships might shift, sometimes without conflict. Just a natural drifting. It's not that you're losing your way, it's that the way you followed was never fully yours. And now the vibration of your truth is becoming louder than the noise of imitation. This collapse is sacred. It's the shedding of borrowed values, of inherited fear, of masks you didn't even know you were wearing. And as this false identity begins to fall away, what emerges isn't a polished version of success, but something far more magnetic, your frequency, raw and honest. It's vulnerable at first. You may feel exposed, uncertain. But within that openness is a new kind of power, the kind that doesn't need to prove, only to resonate. At this stage, life doesn't ask you to rebuild quickly. It asks you to listen, to feel what is real and what is residue, to notice what drains your energy and what restores it. The false self was built for survival. The true self is ready to create, and 33 is the frequency where this internal shift becomes unavoidable. As you step deeper into this vibrational turning point, something within you begins to resist the familiar. Not because the world outside has become hostile, but because your inner frequency no longer matches what you've been tolerating. This creates friction, not chaos but pressure, a subtle, persistent discomfort that whispers through your day-to-day moments. Conversations feel out of sync. Tasks drain you faster. Your inner world is stirring, not with confusion, but with an undeniable urge to stretch beyond what you've known. This friction is the tension between your old vibration and your emerging one. It's what Bob Proctor called the terror barrier, the energetic resistance that appears right before a major expansion. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. The life you've been trying to maintain is too small for the frequency you're stepping into. And that misalignment begins to echo through your emotions, your thoughts, even your body. At 33, this tension becomes especially acute. Why? Because you've lived enough life to construct a strong mental structure, beliefs, patterns, and emotional armor. But now your soul, your pure vibration, is rising. And anything in your system that doesn't resonate with that frequency starts to shake. Not to break you, but to break open the cage around who you really are. You may feel torn, a desire to leap into something unknown, and at the same time a fear of losing the identity you've spent years building. This is the expansion. It's not clean or comfortable. It's raw, honest, and deeply human. The mind wants stability. The spirit wants growth. And in the space between them, your frequency is evolving. Don't resist the friction. Don't numb it or escape it. It's guidance. It's movement. It's the vibration of evolution in real time. And the moment you stop trying to fix it and instead begin to feel it, you unlock the energy necessary to break through. Not by force, but by alignment, because growth isn't something you do. It's something you allow. And the pressure you feel now is simply the weight of the future trying to enter. Somewhere along this internal shift, something subtle begins to call you. Not loudly, not with clear instructions, but with a quiet gravity, a pull. A magnetic sense that your life was never meant to be just about routine, survival, or surface success. You begin to feel that everything you've done up to this point, even your detours, was leading you somewhere deeper. This isn't ambition, it's awakening. The vibration of purpose is beginning to activate. At 33, this pull intensifies because your subconscious programming begins to loosen. The stories you were taught about what success should look like, who you should be, and what is realistic begin to feel hollow. And as those old frequencies weaken, space opens for something higher to enter. Purpose isn't something you chase. It's something that emerges when your inner frequency becomes still enough to receive it. Bob Proctor always said, "You were born rich, not just in material potential, but in meaning." He believed that each of us carries a unique frequency signature, a purpose encoded in vibration, not in titles or careers. And at this stage of life, the universe begins to nudge you toward what you've always known deep down, even if you couldn't name it. You may feel drawn to things you once ignored and certain ideas, causes, messages, or creative impulses that seem to come from nowhere. Or you may feel a growing discomfort with paths that once seemed safe. That's not instability. That's vibrational clarity. Your system is learning to recognize resonance, to follow what feels aligned rather than what's expected. This pull toward higher purpose doesn't always arrive with certainty. Often it comes with doubt, because it challenges everything familiar. But if you've begun to feel this inner calling, this quiet insistence that your life must mean more, must serve something bigger, then you're not imagining it. You're aligning with it. And once you begin that alignment, everything in your life will begin to rearrange to support it. As the inner shifts deepen, something unexpected begins to happen. Your desires start to change. What you once craved no longer excites you. The goals that used to motivate you begin to feel like echoes from a past version of yourself. You don't lose your drive. You simply start to desire from a different frequency. It's not that you want less. It's that you want what's real. And that difference changes everything. At 33, desire undergoes refinement. It matures. What once felt urgent now feels shallow. You're no longer drawn to outcomes just for validation, recognition, or control. Instead, your desires begin to rise from the soul, not the ego. They carry a different vibration, quieter but far more powerful. You begin to want alignment more than attention, fulfillment more than applause, expansion more than security. According to Bob Proctor, your desires are not random, they are spiritual seeds, and they reveal your potential. But until now, many of those seeds were chosen by external influence. As your vibration rises, those influences lose power. And suddenly you start to hear your true desires, the ones that have been buried under noise, expectation, and fear. And when they rise, they feel both unfamiliar and deeply known. This recalibration can feel confusing at first. You may question your path, you may feel like starting over. But that discomfort isn't confusion. It's clarity breaking through your conditioning. You're no longer aligned with what looked good on paper. You're aligning with what feels right in your core. And that shift in desire is the universe's way of confirming that you're no longer chasing what's not meant for you. Desire is not something to suppress. It's a compass, but it only points true when it's calibrated to your authentic vibration. When that happens, you begin to move through life not with restless urgency, but with quiet certainty. You attract with ease because now what you want is no longer based on lack. It's born from wholeness. And that kind of desire doesn't just manifest things. It transforms you in the process. Eventually, something shifts so deeply within you that effort begins to transform into flow. You stop pushing. You stop reaching. And yet, things begin to arrive. Not because you've given up, but because you've finally aligned. This is the moment when the internal work becomes external magnetism. The vibration you've been cultivating silently now starts echoing back in the form of opportunities, people, synchronicities, and clarity. At 33, this magnetic flow begins to open because you've cleared what was distorting your signal. You're no longer sending mixed messages to the universe. Your frequency has stabilized. There's no more pretending, performing, or chasing. You've stepped into coherence, where your thoughts, emotions, and actions all begin to harmonize. And that harmony becomes magnetic. Bob Proctor taught that everything you want is already here. It's just waiting for you to match it. And when this flow begins, you understand exactly what he meant. Life doesn't force itself. It unfolds. You start noticing how the right people cross your path without effort, how clarity replaces confusion without struggle, how joy shows up in moments that used to feel empty. This is not luck. It's alignment made visible. But the greatest sign that your magnetic field has opened isn't what comes to you. It's what leaves you. Doubt fades. Force disappears. The urgency to prove, to fix, to control evaporates. You begin to trust timing without needing to manipulate it. You begin to speak less and sense more. You live from intuition, not reaction. And in that stillness, things begin to respond to your presence in ways you never imagined. If you felt this energy building, the flow starting to open, the effort melting into ease, you're exactly where you're meant to be. You've crossed a vibrational threshold most never reach, not because they couldn't, but because they didn't slow down enough to feel it. Now that you have, everything changes. From here, you don't force your reality. You attract it because you've become the match to what you once sought. And if this message resonated, even in a quiet, subtle way, it means you're in the frequency. So stay here, keep aligning. And if you're ready to go even deeper, the next videos appearing on your screen will take you further. They're not just content. They're a continuation of this vibration.